says it is 5:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. So John, if you turn everything on for us.
Ready to go.
Thank you. And as the president of the Board of Trustees at the Normal Public Library, I've determined that it is prudent to meet virtually due to COVID-19. And we'll now get our virtual meeting started. With that in mind, first, real quick review of the agenda, corrections, additions. Thank you. Thank you, JD.
My favorite part of the meeting. Jess Ray.
Present.
Terry Lindbergh.
Here.
Jim Rogal.
Present.
JD Davis. Present. I'll do this slow. Caitlin Trunnell. Here. Erin Ripley Guitaric. Here. Pam Lewis. Here. See that? That was timing.
There we go. Excellent timing across the board. You think after a year of doing this virtually now, I would remember roll call. But
don't you disappoint me.
I know. So a review of the agenda, any corrections or additions. As I recall, I believe it was time to put an executive session personnel on the agenda. So we'll have that tonight, which was not in some of the original documentation we had. And then anything else that I am not aware of. Okay, we'll move into approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Would someone like to make a motion? Pam, are you making a motion or are you touching your camera?
Move to approve.
Okay, we have one motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Aaron beat you to it. I saw a hand, so Aaron, you are the second. Sorry, Jim. You didn't have to. And any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, we'll do the roll call vote.
Jess Ray.
Aye.
Terry Lindbergh.
Terry, was that an aye? You were muted. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I wasn't looking. Jim Rogal.
Aye.
JD Davis. Aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Aye.
Erin Ripley Guitaric.
Aye.
Pam Lewis.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all very much. Now that moves. And then we'll go into approval of expenditures, which is also an action item. Would someone like to move to approve expenditures?
Okay, I'll move to approve expenses totaling $115,865.53 from December 10th to January 20th, and 2 December payrolls totaling $139,901.27.
Thank you, Pam. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? JD, would you like to do the roll call vote?
Jess Ray.
Aye.
Terry Lindbergh.
Yes.
Jim Rogal.
Yes.
JD Davis. Wait, I'm sorry, I was doing something. Yes. Yes, aye. Caitlin Trunnell.
Yes.
Erin Ripley Guitaric.
Yes.
Pam Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Look at that. Look, we've already gotten through 3 items on the agenda, and it's only 5:33. I feel like we've accomplished. So, next on the item is the President's Report. I want to remind everyone, don't be like me. I haven't reserved yet for the legislative meeting that's coming up in February, so you should have some information about that. It's the annual meetup that we do with ILA to meet with legislators to advocate on behalf of libraries. So if you can, it'll be a Zoom meeting, of course, this time at 8 o'clock. And it's February. I now just don't have that down. So check your emails. You'll see it in there. And then, of course, as always, thanks to our patrons out there for their understanding and their forbearance during this time. And thanks to the staff, which makes it all possible. And even when it's not a pandemic, they do a wonderful job. So thanks to the staff. And therein my report. We'll now move into public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. The closest thing I think we have to public comment, I think some have saw, we did have one patron who indicated some concern about our reopening. I just want to acknowledge that and thank them for their input. And we also had several responses thanking us for going with the opening as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's what the library has. Okay. Moving now to the library director's report. Brian, what would you like to share with us this evening?
Just we're excited to be open again. We want to be open to the public, so I just want to share that enthusiasm for the staff, and we look forward to Monday and kind of welcoming the public back into our building. So I also just want to point out one slight change we made to some of the, I could save this for the COVID, but since I started, we asked before to limit to one member per household, but we're not asking that now. That didn't feel right, I guess, as we got into it. So we want to be a little more open there. So we look forward to seeing, families coming together, for example, and use it for an hour or less, and get what they want and together and have fun and go home and enjoy it. So, restroom project, very, very close to being done. We're just waiting on some door hardware, which will resolve a button issue. So that is scheduled to arrive the first week of February. So look forward to having that done. A related project happening was we put a kitchenette in the circulation workroom to put several things together to conserve some real estate in there. So that's been installed and is functioning, which is nice. There's a sink with that, obviously, so that helps another hand washing station for staff, which is great. Strategic planning process we'll talk about. Had a good meeting with Sue and Tony today and a brief meeting with our leadership team, and we have made some good progress there. Look forward to getting your input there. Budget review work session, partially complete. It started yesterday and it will finish up, I think, early next week. So our portion went well. Just one question about future plans for the library facility and where that might be, and making sure that land is still available. It is. Looking at the Upland South site. So always appreciate the opportunity to present the budget to the council and just have that conversation. Ongoing used book sale. We will start this back up on Monday, so we look forward to that. We're going to make some minor changes there. Separate out a couple more genres, for example, to make it easier to find what you're looking for. So we're excited about that. Per capita grant application is in this packet. So thanks to all of you for reviewing the standards and our previous discussions. And I've taken what I've heard from you and from staff and put in there and into some actionable items that we look forward to completing. So website project, our usability evaluation is complete. Thanks to University of Michigan course students for that. They gave us a video and some good feedback towards the end of the project, and that'll be really helpful as we move forward in making our site easier to use. One thing I'll share there is at times there's confusion about once you search for an item, you're actually leaving our site and going to our consortial catalog, and we don't have any control over the usability of that. Unfortunately, it has gotten better over the years, but sometimes we get complaints or comments about our website, but we find out they're actually talking about the catalog, not the website. So those are two distinct pieces there. So anything other than the catalog, we can work on our own, and we look forward to some improvements there. Digital network access grant, we applied for that to assess and improve our Wi-Fi. That on-site work has been completed in terms of the assessment. We have a Zoom report on that tomorrow. And we're definitely going to be adding some access points throughout the building and also exterior in the parking lots to push our Wi-Fi out to the north, both in our lot and the lease lot. So some good changes coming there, which will be good. Winter Reading Challenge is underway. That's exciting. Neat prize there. And as Jess mentioned, I appreciate the Central Illinois Library Legislative Meetup will be held via Zoom 8 a.m. on February 26th. Please do attend if you can. That event is not recorded, so you will have to be there live to be a part of it. So we're still in the planning stages to some extent. We're trying to highlight what all libraries in Central Illinois have done throughout the pandemic, for example, and how different libraries to communities have responded. So we look forward to sharing that story, interacting with some legislators, and look forward to seeing you there if you're available. And that's it, unless there are questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Hearing none, we'll go into foundation report.
Brian, please do.
Sure. Let's see. So the foundation most recently met. Was it this earlier this month? Yeah, and looking forward to. This is the first time they've started a year with a development coordinator in place, and that obviously that helps with planning. One thing that we've been working on. Well, I should mention. So we set a bi-weekly meeting with Joel McReynolds, our development coordinator, and our key programming staff, and I'm there, and the management are there too. So that's just to really get that a lot of traction to helping the foundation, help the programming, help the library, just keep that conversation alive. Joel and I are talking a lot about sponsorships for reading programs, for example. I've talked to a couple of different potential donors, some who are interested in sponsoring. I'll be speaking to a group of 38 employees for a local business and all their families in March, just telling them about the library and what all we do for the community. And so we're increasing our engagement, in a number of ways. A big goal for this year, though, is to really find some local sponsors who can help support reading programs, etc. There's 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, for example, summer reading. Some of these programs that we can really take to the next level, I think. So we're excited to move forward there.
So next on our agenda is a new item that we just added recently, Advocacy Report. I don't know that we necessarily have anything to share on that tonight, but just checking to see if we do.
I'll throw out there, it feels good to have this on the agenda, I think. Advocacy is really important for this group and for the library. The legislative meetup is a great first step, I think, just to be there and, interact with local legislators. It's also interesting, I think, to interact with other board members from other libraries. There's some strength there to know kind of your local other board members for libraries. So I think the key piece of information is that I'm going to certainly try to do more to provide advocacy efforts and training, information, etc. If we think back to when Peter Pearson was here in March, he laid out a good template for how we can go about both the elected board and the staff and the foundation board, just to kind of a very kind and gentle path into more advocacy that would grow over time and gain strength. So I feel like we're heading in a great direction, and I think this will be a part of our strategic plan also.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Caitlin.
Yeah, so did we ever decide, start, or establish, I know we had talked about doing like a subcommittee working on the advocacy efforts, and I didn't know where we kind of ended up landing on that.
So my memory is that we had discussed it, but we didn't take any action on it at last meeting to move forward. So at this point, I think would be asking for those who are interested in serving on that subcommittee. And then next meeting, we'll assign that as a committee assignment. So if anyone, we won't call out people at this moment, but if anybody has an interest in serving, just go ahead and email me and let me know, and then we'll go for there for next meeting. But thank you for asking about that. Pam.
It's obviously not going to be me, but before someone would maybe want to volunteer, is there some kind of expectations or objectives? Would we establish those first, or is that something the committee would do?
I'd like to see the committee do the initial. Yeah, I would like to see the committee do the initial to come back, and then it's as a group at large, then we can see if the scope is tenable, if it's too big, too small, and have a little. That way, we've got something to actually, think against. Okay. Because otherwise, we may spend a lot of time spinning wheel.
Just a reminder, when this group spoke to Sue Hall and Tony Garvey, you indicated a desire for an advocacy plan as a strategic initiative. So that is part of what we're planning, obviously, as part of the strategic plan. So an advocacy plan will be in the works.
And this is something that could be shared with the foundation. It would be helpful. once this committee and objectives are established, to bring them along to so we're both on the same page, and you get extra help there.
Yeah, and Peter's advice was that the foundation board have their own advocacy group and approach it, a two-pronged approach: the elected officials and the.
So, any further discussion on the advocacy report? I do think for those of us who work in different areas too, since advocacy means so many different things and so many different professions, for the agenda, would it be helpful to say library advocacy? Just to differentiate as to which advocacy, because as I look, I see people who work in the advocacy areas in their normal job. Not to pick on Caitlin, but for example, Red Cross, they have advocacy as well as other people in the meeting. So, does that make sense to folks? For going forward. Okay. So we are now entering into new business, and as Brian mentioned, it's the fiscal year 2021 Illinois Public Library per capita grant application. I believe we are now at a point to take action on that. If someone would like to, go ahead, Brian.
I'm just going to thank the board for their effort in reviewing the standards, and our leadership team looked at those as well. So there is a character limit, so it looks like there's a lot of empty space for data. There's not in most of these, so there's not a lot of space, but our plan, this is good timing for us as part of the strategic planning process too. So there's some clear initiatives in here that help us grow as a library. So it really worked nicely together to help feed some strategic planning ideas. So thank you for your time on this.
And if I remember, the action is that we're submitting the application, correct?
Yes.
So if someone would like...
Approve and submit, yeah.
Right. So if someone would like to make that motion. Jim? Sorry, I did out of the corner of my eye there. Jim, are you moving?
Trying to get the mute turned off. I move to accept and, what did you say, accept and...
Approve and submit.
Approve and submit. I knew it was something like that. The per capita grant application.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Pam. All those, roll call for those in favor. We'll give JD half a second as she is, because we give JD as much time as she wants because she does this hard job, and thank her so much. I cannot thank her enough. I will thank her more times as we are waiting for her to do it. Again, thanking her once more.
Thanks. That was great. Okay.
And sincere.
Absolutely. Jess Ray.
Yes.
Terry Lindbergh.
Yes.
Jim Rogal.
Yes.
JD Davis, paying attention this time, is approved. Caitlin Trunnell.
Yes.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Yes.
Pam Lewis.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all so much. I feel that we have done our work there. Thanks all. So next item under business is the 2021-2024 strategic plan draft. As many of you see at the back of the packet, there is the draft that Brian has provided, and this is a discussion item. And Brian, would you like to say a few words to get the ball rolling?
Yes, please. So this looks quite a bit different than our last plan, and we are just preparing to move forward and adding more meat to this. So a few updates since I shared this document. Where it says priority now, those, language, we play with the language in this. The priorities might turn into either values or commitments, and these are very broad, and we went through a process, our leadership team, kind of pulling back. Why are we making a plan? Why is the library here? How do we best do what we do? And we wanted to focus on the patrons who we serve, our team, our community, and then our resources. Optimizing the resources, making sure the community is aware and engaged. So the strategies will change over time, but I think those are pretty constant. Those what are listed as priorities now. So Sue and Tony and I met this afternoon, and they asked that we, the library, so it would be the board and the staff and the leadership, think about 8 to 12, maybe even 15 things that are concrete that we can now list in the plan as strategies moving forward, or even under the strategies as initiatives. So think of them in a 3-year term, maybe even 18 months. If we kind of break this in half, what do we want to accomplish in 18 months? What's definitely within the first 3 or the next 3 years? So we're looking for those, as I said, 8 to 12, maybe even 15 things, and concrete priorities. Also, they challenged us, where is normal public libraries specifically in this plan? A lot of libraries could have a very similar plan. So how do we really kind of reveal who we are and who our community is, and connect and find those really meaningful connections in our planning? Really hone in where we need to best serve our community. And we talk about funding and fundraising and the foundation, et cetera. Peter Pearson, who I mentioned earlier, now lives about 2 blocks down from Sue Hall, who's doing this planning. And Sue showed this to Peter because they're working on another project together. And Peter shared that if we're ever going to share this strategic plan with potential donors, for example, they would want to see these more concrete, specifically if there's anything facility related, they would want to see that called out in the strategic plan. So something to think about. It's difficult for us to control that facility discussion to a certain extent. We can certainly keep the discussion going and making progress, but figuring out what can we really do, and this is where the advocacy piece I think is so important. How do we really move that forward? So just sharing that kind of a different perspective from the fundraising side, making sure that any major thing that might require funding, and we're going to put it in front of potential donors, make sure it's reflected as a goal in our strategic plan. So just kind of a different way of thinking about it.
So an example from what you just said about what Peter had to say. So if an example were that one of our needs was an extra bookshelf, and we that was special, and we needed to order it from somewhere, that we needed extra funding for that, we want to put that as, say, within priority 4, right?
Yeah.
We call that out specific in addition to the general stuff, but really only for those larger, to make it concrete for folks.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're kind of providing a nice, almost a menu item to be funded, easy to identify, easy to understand, and making it clear that it's a priority for examples.
Pam?
So if you just put the word "by" after each one of those strategies, it would encourage you to be more specific on how we would accomplish that. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing. And Brian, are you asking for us to email you ideas, or?
That's, any input is welcome. Well, what I was hoping to do was just recap. You all met with Sue and Tony on November 18th. I was just going to go over a few highlights just to kind of rekindle what you had mentioned before, if that's okay. I'll take a minute to do that. Okay. So again, November 18th, the board talked about focusing on maintaining our excellent programs and services while committing to do this with limited resources. You want to see the current space maximized. So that means different things. Accessibility, including equity and inclusion, should be a priority. Targeted support to seniors and kids. Work with partners using technology to support them. Look to other libraries to see how they're responding to changes in library service. In terms of staffing, you mentioned the staff is already very nimble and really cares about the community, remain up on trends and responsive, communicate with the public. The website was mentioned, make it more modern and responsive. We have plans for that. Continue to look for ways to be more inclusive. A focus on problem solving with technology would be valuable. As a fun one, paint the Pepto-Bismol basement. That was a good one. There's a funding task, maybe. Advocacy was discussed. It was discussed to create an advocacy plan, which I think is a great idea. Make sure the public understands the process for board elections and encourage involvement in that. That's, I think, fairly easy to communicate. The library should continue to understand it's more than bricks and mortar. It needs to continue to offer off-site programming, think about doing a bookmobile, publicize the additional parking, expand use of the community room. And almost done here. Continue to work with the library planning committee, advancing the conversation more intentionally. One thing I'll share there, we've gone to quarterly meetings rather than every 6 months. So that was at the request of none of us on the library side of the committee, which was, I think, a good indicator. They want to move that, the council side wants to move the conversation forward, so that's good. Develop a concrete facilities plan. We've talked about that, facility assessment, and this facility specifically, how do we most responsibly live here during the next 10 to 15 to 20 years while we go through this new facility discussion. Reach out to board alumni for their support. Could be advocacy, could be financial support. Be proactive with grant opportunities. Put a strong advocacy plan in place. Again, one-on-one conversations with community leaders, more advocacy. Create an advocacy committee was a recommendation. There's a theme here. I think you're getting it. Conduct a planning workshop, the outcome of which would be an advocacy plan. Develop a short 1 to 2 year term plan for a library makeover, small improvements with a related budget. Could be an ask for a fundraising campaign. So right there is a great initiative for fundraising. We want to do what we can kind of cosmetically maybe within the library. And the last was a communications plan for highlighting the board to be used as a tool for engaging potential new board members. So just a quick recap of the input that you all provided before when we had this discussion. I see Terry's hand is up.
I don't know how to do this, but I would like to somehow link a strategic plan that focuses on the things that we can do with our more distant or more future-oriented master building plan. I'd like to have something that reminds people. I saw during council budget, they really had kind of lost focus on where we got, how we got there, and what we had done. If they were more aware, they'd have known that anything that happened on that the dentist building wouldn't affect our plans in any way, shape, or form. So I don't want to drag the strategic plan down by saying, our whole focus is on building a new library on that site, but somehow I'd like to keep it closer to the forefront of their minds. So
I
link
agree.
it, but not make it part of it somehow, I guess.
I agree, and I word it, or I think of it as what we're trying to do is address our space need. Somehow we need to solve that space need, whether that's building a new facility or adding on, whatever it might be. That's the challenge in front of us right now. I do like the idea of us being able to, this group, the board and staff being able to control our success in terms of meeting the initiatives that we lay out. And it does feel, it's challenging. We can't on our own build a new facility, for example. We need a lot of help to accomplish that. So I think that's where the advocacy is so critically important to make that happen. I agree. I think we have to be very careful with our wording, things that we can accomplish, like in this facility, for example, or, doing more with advocacy, we can control that. But as you well know, ultimately it takes others to make it happen. So
if I'm hearing Terry and Brian both correctly, I want to rephrase this to make sure. We want to be able to have actionable items that we can actually accomplish, but also include in some way aspirational things that we're
That's
working.
a nice way to say it.
Okay, Pam?
If you phrase things, because of our limited space, we need to, because of the challenges we have with whatever we aspire to. And that's kind of a reminder of, we can't do everything we want, so we're trying to maximize. But if we just keep recurring that theme of, we're trying to work with what we have, but we really need something else. And the challenge also is we have a ever evolving town council. So where some of the members are very familiar with our building aspirations, and others, than maybe the newer ones, they haven't been as involved and didn't go on the trip to the other libraries and did, all of that. And so I agree with Terry. It needs to be worth reminding.
And to me, it sounds like it's almost incremental too, right? So some of these things are incremental. We can accomplish today, we can do tomorrow, and then we can accomplish 3 a year from now or something like that, right?
Well, we very thoroughly addressed, of course, this was pre-COVID, and I'd be among the first to say things are different and will be different. But we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on long-range capital planning. We've been around the block a few times on that. Somebody asked at that town budget presentation the other day, have you looked at other sites? Well, I got a story for you, pal. So I want to get I want to recognize that investment, but not let it drag down the things we can accomplish. But it's, they go, hey, it's nice. You guys fixed your bathrooms. I guess you don't need a new facility. I don't want to get into that. Or you guys did this, and
So everything's fine. Yeah.
If and when the conversation gets more serious about a bookmobile and how it fits into the larger scheme, I want to make sure they understand that doesn't abrogate the need for a new library. So figure out how to link it.
It gets back to that incremental concept, right? So this is a step towards. That's as part of our strategic plan. We're still moving forward. We know that we can't do it all tomorrow, so these are the things we're taking. But I guess the test is making sure that people understand it's a step, but a step towards something else, not just a check off the box and done.
I think trying to define those steps as specifically as possible is helpful. So, for example, one of my goals that you'll see on the list I submit to you each year is to get a funding plan. And the funding plan is the key piece to moving us forward. Then we have the town's commitment memorialized, to funding a new facility, and then fundraising can take place, et cetera. That's the piece that we really need. Having kind of recapped the November discussion and having put in front of you this most recent, really it's the skeleton of a plan at this point. I would welcome any input from the board, whether it's now or as you kind of sleep on it and want to email me or call me or anything. Please just share any input. We appreciate your input in this process.
Ryan, from the information you provide us, it almost sounded like there were some opportunities for that calling out of something, right? And I realize I'm the one who said the Pepto-Bismol basement thing. So, but I'm going to use that as an example.
Yeah.
That is an actionable item, right? That should we want to put that as,
yes,
like to accomplish that within the next year,
mm-hmm.
Maybe that's one of those things that gets called out as we this year, and that I think that's the challenge is, of course, this strategic plan is a multi-year plan. But when you look at it, you don't necessarily think about that it's 21 through 24, right? You're like, oh, this must be the plan for the year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's helpful.
So do you think you have enough things in that document to be able to pull from that are to help with the item that Peter talked about on the advocacy side?
I feel I do. I just wanted to engage you all just for a quick opportunity to offer anything else in case any thought come to mind since that November meeting or having seen the new variation of the plan. And just ask for your input, just to please share it with us at any time.
So, anybody, I know people are thinking, so has anybody got anything at this moment? Or if not, please, it'll come up, let Brian know.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Hearing nothing more on that, we'll go ahead and move. We already kind of addressed COVID early on as part of Brian's report, and we talked about the opening, but any more discussion on COVID-19 in terms of updates?
We're looking forward to being open. As I said, we really want to be open. We want to be open in a safe and healthy way, and I appreciate the board's support as we try to navigate this and make good decisions. So thank you for your help there. We appreciate it. We open up on Monday.
All right. I think the next item that we have is the executive session with personnel. And before we go to that, just looking at the rest of the agenda, we don't have any unfinished business, correct, that we would need to address that's on the agenda. I'm going to go through this because usually with when we go into executive session, often we'll come out of executive session, the meeting will be done, so that if anyone's watching us at home right now, and thank you if you are, just from a housekeeping standpoint, I thought we would address what's left on the agenda so that when we do come out, we will just work right into the adjournment. So is there any other suggested items for the next agenda? Okay, not hearing any. Just a reminder, our next meeting date is February 24th, 2021. And let's go back to, would someone like to move into executive session? Aaron?
No, I missed the button. I move to go into executive session per section 2C1 to discuss personnel.
And I saw Aaron's hand up. So Aaron, are you seconding that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I had the wording.
Says JD had the thing in front of her there. So, all right. Would you like to do the roll call vote, please, for us, JD?
Get to all right, Just Ray.
Aye.
Gary Lindbergh.
Yes.
Jim Rogal.
Yes.
JD Davis. Yes. Oh, yes is right. Okay. Caitlin Trommel.
Yes.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric.
Yes.
Pam Lewis.
Pam, couldn't hear you.
Yes. Got it.
So just a reminder that when John cuts off the feed, you'll see a change in the screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as we get ready to move into executive session, again, thank those who might be watching from home for participating and doing their civic duty. So thank you so much for being engaged with us this evening. And our is Director Chase, I believe we're inviting you as well.
No.
Next time.
Is it next? Oh, that's right. Thank you. Had a moment.
I'm happy to join you if you want, but I assume you don't want me to.
Sorry. I was forgetting where we are in the process. And then I will text you, Brian, once we are out so that you can let John know and we'll come back into session. All right. John, if you would be so kind to do that wonderful magic that you can do in Zoom to move us into an executive session.
All right, done. Thank you.
executive, right?
Right.
And then we have to do one to leave, and then that's it.
Jess, I believe the live feed is back on. I'll let John confirm that, please.
Correct, back on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are now coming out of executive session. JD, what do we need to do next?
Roll call. Jess Ray,
Present.
Harry Lindbergh,
Here.
Jim Rogal,
Present.
JD Davis, present. Caitlin Trunnell,
Present.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric,
Present.
Pam Lewis.
Present.
And we're good.
All right. Thank you all so much. Well, we are now at the end of our meeting. As we mentioned before, we don't have any unfinished business. We don't have any additional items for the next agenda. We've gone over the next meeting date of February 24th at 2021. All that is left is for adjournment. Would anyone like to move that we adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Caitlin. All those in favor, roll call vote. I should have done that because we could have just adjourned without the roll call vote, but now I've just made JD's life a little extra special. That was not intentional. I didn't realize that. I could have done executive privilege, but oh well.
Jess Ray,
Here, yes, aye.
Harry Lindbergh,
Yes.
Jim Rogal,
Yes.
JD Davis, yes. Caitlin Trunnell,
Yes.
Aaron Ripley Guitaric,
Yes.
Pam Lewis.
Yes.
6:30 p.m.
We all are adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you all.
Appreciate it.